But I'd like to give a lovely sun-kissed Peak District welcome to Clare Evans, Amy Adams and Lynn Craven. So Clare is the Corporate Services Manager at Tewkesbury. I hope I've got that right. You've not been promoted or God forbid demoted, but no, you are still Corporate Services Manager. That's brilliant. We've got Amy Adams, who is the Programme Officer at Tewkesbury, and also we have Lynn Craven, who's a Business Analyst at Tewkesbury. Now, Claire, how are you? Are you driving this with regards to sharing the screen, or?
No, absolutely not. No. I've given that to Amy because this is Zoom, and sharing on Zoom is much harder than on Teams. So Amy's going to kick off and share the screen because we do have a little presentation.
Has that worked?
That's worked.
I'm now going to mute myself and stop my video, and away to you guys.
Fab, thanks. Thanks, Nick. Yes, thank you. It's an absolute pleasure to present to you all. I'll kick off and give a bit of context as to Tewkesbury and what we're up to, and then I'll pass over to Amy and Lynn, who use Engage kind of in their day-to-day work. So I'm Claire, I'm Corporate Services Manager at Tewkesbury, so I oversee our business transformation team, and I also oversee our customer services team, comms and design team, and corporate team, which includes things such as performance, FOIs, complaints, and things like that. And I kind of do go on a little bit internally about the fact that all of my services do have a real focus on the customer and the experience that our customers have with us. And I think that's one of the big benefits that we're seeing, having brought our transformation team from out of IT and into the more corporate setting, is that we are really driven by that customer experience rather than what the technology can deliver for us, albeit obviously, you know, technology is very important to us. So our transformation team is quite new. It came together in 2020. We did have an existing digital officer at the time, but it was recognised there was a lot of pressure on him. There was more kind of demand coming in from different services that wanted to have digital change, but also we were having frustrations with our current digital platform. And so that, coupled with a number of emerging bigger projects, management team recognised that we did need some capacity to deliver all of this stuff, basically. And so that is how our business transformation team came into being. So we're made up of a range of different posts. So we've got digital developers, we've got a web and digital designer, we've got a business analyst, we also have a really good apprentice who's supporting the team, and then we've also got our programme officers as well. And what we're finding is that all of those skills and the talents of the team that come together enable us to deliver change in quite a unique but also quick way for the council. And I think that's something that's definitely been recognised, is that I don't think people were expecting us to deliver in the speed that we have been, and that has definitely been thanks to our digital platform Liberty Create, but also using things such as Engage to help us get there. So one of the first tasks that we had was to move our processes from our previous platform onto our existing one. And so we had a real focus on that. We had a really tight deadline. And so we perhaps didn't use Engage in quite the way that we are certainly doing now. We were very much focused on making sure that we went through all of our processes and improved them as much as we could within the time frame. But perhaps we weren't as focused on understanding all the benefits that we were getting from them, but we'll talk a bit more about that in a bit. Just so you're aware, we've had our new digital strategy approved very recently. It has got the same principles that we had in our previous one, and we've just put those on the slide. We are very much about putting the customer at the heart of everything. Our ethos is that we are digital by preference, but access for all, and that's where having the synergies between the transformation team and the customer services team is really important. We make our digital services as simple as possible. We're very much driven by the fact that we want to move away from the complexity that local government's known for, and we want to make sure that our customers go online and have a very, very simple and easy experience with us. A lot of what we do is around driving a new culture change within the organisation, and I think just having a specific team dedicated to change has helped to do that. people look to us, services come to us because they know that we are kind of driving new ways of doing things, and we're open to kind of talking around innovation and new and different ways of doing things. Importantly as well, we are pushing a one council approach. Previously, before the transformation team was in being, I think there were services just going off and procuring all sorts of different kind of types of technology or modules to existing systems. And so what we're able to do now is really streamline the things that we're buying and making sure that we consider using Liberty in the first instance, which gives a kind of consistency to our digital approach. And finally, which Engage is really helping us to do, is using some evidence and insights to make sure that any future services that we look at or roll out, or even when we go back to review ones that we've already implemented, that we learn from previous work that we've done, and also, you know, the evidence that service users are providing us with, that we shape our services using that. So that's a bit about us. In terms of what we're doing with Engage, so we actually first found out about Engage at a Southwest Transformation Group. There was a demo done there, and we were immediately kind of impressed by just how easy it looked to use and how engaging it was for not just the people using it to deliver the change, but also the services that were working with them. And we actually ended up visiting a local council, so Cheltenham, I know they're on the call. We visited Cheltenham to see how they were using it, and that was actually a really helpful thing for us to do, because it gave us a hands-on chance at looking at how it worked, and it confirmed our thoughts, I think. And so we were very quick then to sign up, and I think we've been using Engage pretty much since we've been live as a team. For us, it's just all about collaboration. It gets us out into the services, and you know, ever since we've been working together as a team, it's been remotely. We haven't worked together really in person as a team at all. And Engage has allowed us to do all of our process mapping online, virtually, but it's made it really easy. So teams can visually work with us to really think about their process and work out how it's working currently, but also what they want it to be in the future. And it also enables them to see quite clearly the impact of the changes that they'll make, be that in kind of the time that it will save, or the finance, you know, the money savings that will be made. But we're going to take you through some of our processes today. But yeah, as Nick said, any questions, please do shout. I know somebody on the call said that they wanted to find out about the work we're doing on Liberty and things. So if they want to chat with us separately, that's absolutely fine. But we are probably going to more focus on the work that we're doing in Engage today. But I'll pass over to Ames, I think, now.
Yeah, so I'm just going to take you through sort of, you know, what we like about the Engage software and how we use it, really. So yeah, like Claire said, it's really visual, and it's great for getting teams involved from the beginning. It has much more impact with the services that we work with. Being able to see the icons really clearly shows where steps are manual or digital, and where the breaks in the process are, and that really helps services to visualize their process and really relate to it. So then when we start suggesting changes, or they start suggesting changes, it's because they can really clearly see where they are in the process. We can also use it to get really meaningful analytics out, and Lynn will do a bit more on that later. And it's really quick and easy to use as well. So from our point of view, when we are creating the process maps, it's much quicker than more traditional process mapping software. And yeah, as we said, there's sort of functionality to hold workshops and things, which is great. It's really interactive, and it helps people to really be involved right from the beginning. And also it's the people that engage. They're really helpful, and we've gone to them before, you know, with little questions about the best way to display processes, and they give really great advice on how to get the best out of the software, really. So I'll hand over to Lynn, and she'll take you through some of our processes.
Yeah, hello. So our approach when working with a service team is to, Amy and I will go along and have a meeting with them to discuss, you know, how they work now. So with the Mr. Bins as is process, we would ask them about how they get their Mr. Bin reports, and initially this was done on our existing, our older digital platform, and we will just go through each step with them, and I will use Engage to map it out after our first meeting. Then we will go back and we will refine it, because there will always be bits that we've missed out that I haven't understood properly perhaps, or bits they've forgotten about. You know, I'll be mapping it out and realise I've got nowhere to go. But we just find it so useful for having those discussions initially, and we can see bits perhaps in the process which cause backlogs, or, you know, cause loops where they're having to wait for things perhaps, or where, you know, things are done manually at the moment, but perhaps we could, you know, do digitally. It also triggers all sorts of discussions about, you know, people usually got really good ideas about how things could be improved, which bits frustrate them perhaps. So it, you know, it really does help to get all those ideas out. On our missed bin process, we could see we use a thing that we called the whiteboard, because in the olden days it literally was a whiteboard with a pen that they used to write on, or crew reports. So if the lorry couldn't get down a road, or a customer presented the wrong bin, it would be written on a whiteboard. And over the years we've had various solutions for this, but our one in the old digital platform was essentially, it was digital, but it was essentially just like a rolling piece of paper. So the waste contracts admin team would just type in, you know, a particular address. Any feedback from the crews would go in there, but it wasn't searchable. There was no sort of, you know, no intelligence in there really. So that, you know, that used to cause a problem. Customer services had access to it, but really they just had to look through it. So there's obviously a margin for human error there. They may not find it. The street name may be typed in slightly incorrectly. So, you know, we did have issues there. Also, we didn't display that information online. So any customers who self-served, they wouldn't see any of that. So we found we were getting quite a lot of missed bin reports that weren't actually our fault. You know, the customer presented the wrong bin, but then put a report in to try to get us to go back and empty the right one. So doing all the mapping out Engage helped us to, you know, pinpoint which problems we wanted to try to resolve using our new process in Liberty Create. So once we've done the as is, we go on to the to be, and as I say, we in our meetings there'll be lots of ideas, and one of the things that we really wanted to change was the whiteboard. So now when the crew reports come in the same way, and the waste contractors admin team still have to enter that information. So we know there's no time saved there, but what they do is they put that note against the property, and we will have which bin it was, and we've got, you know, all the bins are built in little icons. So just click on an icon, recycling bin, and then they can click on an icon for the reason, you know, contaminated. And there's a little text box if they want to put in some extra notes as well. But now that whiteboard is in a digital format, we can reuse that information. So when our customers go online to try to report their missed bin, the first thing that happens is that a check is done against their property to see if there are any whiteboard notes. And if a whiteboard note pops up saying, sorry, you put the wrong bin out, then that's it. We don't allow them to submit that missed bin, which means that we've made a saving on the admin time of actually handling that. Somebody's actually got to, you know, no longer has to go in and say, sorry, that wasn't our fault. We're not returning for your bin. So although we have streamlined the process, it is quicker. Our biggest saving has been in reducing the number of missed bin reports that we've had to handle. Right, so once we've done the as is and the to be, you need to add in all the roles, you know, who does each step in the process and how long each step takes. And then you can use some of the analysis tools that are built into Engage. I used to use Visio for my process mapping, and there is nothing like this in there. And as long as you've built it all in as you're going along, then all these reporting and analysis tools just work. So that's really handy. So you can get out, you know, how much it cost you, how long it took before, and then how long it will take you afterwards, and then it will highlight the savings. So all you have to do then is multiply those by the number of transactions you've got, and you can, you know, give those savings out. We're really starting to be asked now to provide details of savings that we're making on the processes that we're building in Liberty Create. As Claire said, initially our focus was on getting our processes off our old platform onto our new one. So we worked in a slightly different way there. But now our approach is to work with the service team early on, try to get as much information as we can, build and design those process maps, work out, roughly what our costs and timings are. And then once it goes into Liberty Create, we can look after 6 months and 12 months and actually have reasonably good estimates of what savings we've made. Sometimes it's a direct saving, like we don't have to buy another module specific cost, but also it can be, the process is 25% quicker. So, we've made those savings there, and Engage allows us to quite easily access that information.
Go on, Ames, you're going to say something.
I was just going to add in that we've sort of evolved how we've done this. As Lynn said at the beginning, we didn't really use Engage to its full potential, and now we're really trying to change that around. And when we go to services now, we sort of have a time recording template to help us. So once we've done the process map in Engage, we sort of pull those stages out into a time recording template and ask them to just do a little time recording exercise, nothing too heavy over months, just over a few days, so we can get a good idea how long it takes on average for each of those stages. But on top of that, what we found as well is it's really hard to capture those bits that aren't part of the process, that are the sort of the wastefulness that comes of not having a very streamlined process or something that's a bit messy. And often that's what we get rid of when we introduce a new process, but we didn't capture that at the beginning. So we're really now also going back and trying to focus on how we capture that and how we time record that. And is that part of a separate process Engage, or is it a loop that doesn't always happen? So that's sort of how we're moving forward with it and changing how we use it.
I just wanted to add on as well, touching on what Lynn was saying about being, we are being asked to evidence more about the impact that we're having as a team. And I just don't think that it would be possible without Engage, to the point now where we are really relying on Engage right throughout every single one of our projects that we're working on. It's as integral for us as Liberty is, because it would be impossible for us to do it any other way, other than Engage, really. So it's hugely important for us as a team. I think I had something else to say, but I can't remember.
Right. Yes. So some things like a missed bin complaint, they take more or less the same time from beginning to end. It'll take a certain amount of time for the resident to log it, and then the admin team to review it, and then hand it off to the crews. But we've started working with our antisocial behaviour team, and they don't have a typical inquiry. They could have something which might take a phone call to deal with. They could have something which could take, a handful of visits, some emails, and last a couple of months. And they could have something which takes, meetings, emails, court visits, and take 2 years. So trying to map that out, trying to map that process, even though it is the same process, because we will have a complaint from an individual, our team will decide to do something, and then they will complete an action. And in Liberty Create, we can obviously just keep looping those actions and recording them, so they can say, I'm going to do a visit now, I'm going to send an email now, and record all of that. But we wanted the process to reflect the fact that, these things can take a long time, perhaps. At one of our meetings with Engage, we asked how best to actually try to put this down, and they said the easiest way would be to group it into different types. So what I've done, I will share my screen shortly and show you our antisocial behaviour. And what we've done is to have sort of low importance. Where are we? Yeah, antisocial. We get it logged in, and then we've gone for incident importance, and we have low incident importance. Then we'll have medium ones, and then we'll have high ones, just so that we can get some ideas of timings and costings. We know it's not going to be precise, but that will help us. So our antisocial behaviour team, they currently work with Word documents. So although some of the initial reports are made through our report a problem form on Liberty Create, once it gets to the antisocial behaviour team, they use Word documents, and that causes all sorts of issues, as you can imagine, because they can't report on, what they've done, what types of inquiries they're getting in, how long it's taking them to manage things. They can't do any of that. So whilst they do, excellent work, the admin side sort of lets them down. Really, they find it, very difficult. So they're one of our next projects that we're starting on in the next couple of months. So we've had some preliminary meetings with them where we've just gone through and discussed, what they do now, so all the manual work that they've done, and they're very excited and very keen. I think seeing it like this has made them realise, quite how they've had difficulties managing so far in dealing with it. So we've started to map out their to-be, but that's not actually finalised yet. We'll carry on dealing with that. So what would happen next is, once we've finished our to-be and the service team is quite happy with what we've mapped out, that then gives us something to hand over to the development team. So what usually happens is that the developer who's been assigned to work on the project will come to our last couple of meetings where we're going through things, just so that Amy and I haven't actually overpromised and said that Liberty can do some magic that perhaps it can't, or equally that there are some things that they can solutions they can offer that we haven't thought of perhaps. But the engage process then forms the basis of the developer building that process in Liberty Create. They can see the stages quite clearly. They know what the team need on each stage of their form, perhaps. Although we do work in an agile way, so we know that it's never a finished product. It's it's a good one, and it's good for them to actually start building their process. But they will come back and with better ideas, and we will change things as they go along and improve.
I think that Engage has been really helpful in kind of driving that culture change in how we're working. So working in a more agile way is quite new for services, but having it so visual gets them to see the impact that we will be making, for example, straight away, but also what might be coming in the future. So yeah, it's just, I think the visual nature of it and the way that teams can get involved and really see what impact taking one bit of the process out would have on the overall process just makes such a big difference compared to other systems that we've used previously for process mapping.
Yeah, that's right. And I think sometimes they do have difficulty visualizing how things will work eventually. So, and Engage provides a really good way of showing things, how it will work, and which bits we can automate, which is exciting for them, where we can take out some of the manual bits which take a lot of their time.
Definitely. I don't think we've come across a service yet, have we, that we haven't kind of uncovered something that's surprised them, or there's been an outcome where they've not, it's not been impressive. I think every service that we've worked with has been just quite overwhelmed with the impact that comes with actually process mapping in this way.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Fab, thanks, Lynn. I think that's everything